There are people who spend their entire lives trying to understand why some people can awaken love and desire with a simple conversation, while others, no matter how hard they try, can never create that real connection. The truth is, it has nothing to do with looks, status, or luck in love. It has to do with the words you use. And today I'm going to show you the 5 forbidden words that have the power to stir any heart, including those who seem cold, distant, or impossible to reach. These words are so powerful that many people avoid using them, precisely because they require courage and authenticity. But therein lies the secret. When you speak truthfully, the other person feels it, and it's in that moment that desire, interest, and deep connection are born. The problem is no one taught you this. People keep memorizing ready-made phrases, feigning disinterest, playing the same old games, and they remain alone. What will you hear today? It's no longer a list of tricks or pickup lines. It's something that comes from the wisdom of those who understand what true love is, the same wisdom that Alan Watts taught. Love isn't control, it's presence, and when you understand that, the way you speak changes completely. So pay attention until the end, because I'm going to show you how these 5 forgotten words can spark emotion, confidence, and desire in anyone, and the best part, in a natural, effortless, and unmasked way. After watching this video, you'll never talk to someone you love the same. Play again. Now that you understand the power of words and see how small changes can spark desire, love, and true connection, it's clear that what you've just heard has the power to transform any relationship in your life. This kind of content doesn't just happen. It arrives when you're ready to see things in a new way. So return the favor. Like and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving truths no one has the courage to speak. Each new video here is a step toward mastering your communication, understanding people, and attracting everything you've always wanted. This is just the beginning of your transformation. Have you ever noticed that some people have a presence that simply captures your attention? They speak, and the atmosphere changes. It's not just what they say, it's how they say it. There's a power in words that penetrates any barrier, as if the other person's heart recognizes a hidden truth within. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Because there's a set of words that most people don't use, or use incorrectly, and that's precisely why they live trapped in cold relationships, empty conversations, and superficial connections. But when you understand what these words truly mean, when you learn to use them with presence and intention, something changes in your love life, in your relationships, even in the way people see you. These aren't magic words in the fairy tale sense, but they're close, because they have an immediate effect. They break down people's emotional barriers. They spark curiosity, empathy, desire, and most importantly, trust. And trust is what truly makes someone open up, want to be around you, want to hear what you have to say. The problem is that we live in a world where people are afraid to speak their minds. Everyone tries to appear strong, busy, indifferent, and this kills naturalness. And then comes the distancing, that feeling that no one understands you. But the truth is simple. The right words, spoken in the right way, can change everything. Alan Watts always said that love isn't a game of strategy, it's a state of consciousness. And when you speak with awareness, with presence, the other person feels it immediately. It's as if the energy of the conversation shifts. You don't have to try hard to be interesting. You become interesting because you're genuine. And that's where the power of forbidden words comes in, those that demand vulnerability. They're not forbidden because they're bad, but because they play on the ego, exposing what we try to hide. You may never have thought about it, but most people are afraid to show their true selves. They hide behind neutral phrases, automatic responses, and memorized speeches. How many times has someone asked you, "Is everything okay?" and you answered, "Everything is fine," even when you weren't? That's the point. Communication has lost its heart. And when you start speaking sincerely without masks, the impact is immediate. It's as if the other person feels like, for the first time, they're talking to a real person, not just another polished and disguised version. I know you might think this is an exaggeration, but pay attention. Love and desire aren't born from tricks. They're born from authenticity. When you're genuine, people perceive you differently, and do you know why? Because the truth is rare. Everyone wants to be loved, but almost no one has the courage to show it. And that's why most connections don't go beyond the surface. People miss something they can't even name. They miss presence looking into someone's eyes, words that come from the soul and not from the ordinary. And that's exactly what you'll discover here. These 5 words I'll reveal to you throughout the video are little keys. Each one opens a different door within the listener and within the speaker as well. They awaken what's dormant, rescue what routine has swallowed, and build bridges where before there were only walls. And the most curious thing is that they're simple words which everyone knows, but almost no one has the courage to use with feeling. They seem banal, but they carry enormous power when spoken with truth. You'll realize it's not about speaking beautifully, but about speaking presently. And this is the point Alan Watts emphasized most, being here now completely. Because when you're present, the other person feels it. The tone of your voice changes, your gaze changes, your gestures change, and people connect with this energy, not with the empty words the world repeats. Presence is what awakens desire. Presence is what creates true love. Before continuing, comment below the word presence. I want to know if you feel this is what's missing in your relationships, because this word defines what truly connects hearts. When you write, you already start putting energy into it. You already start attracting this state into your life. Now, think about how many times you've held back from saying what you truly felt, for fear of appearing weak, foolish, or exaggerated. How many times have you swallowed words that could have changed everything? A fight, a separation, a silence that still hurts. People are afraid to say what they feel because they think they'll lose control. But it's the opposite. When you speak from the heart, you gain the power to touch another person. And that's where desire is born, because there's nothing more attractive than someone who speaks the truth with emotion. You'll realize that these forbidden words aren't just for winning someone over, but for creating true connections with others and with yourself. They take us out of autopilot mode and remind us that feeling is what makes us human. And that's precisely what the world is forgetting. Watts said that life isn't a problem to be solved, it's an experience to be lived. And speaking truthfully is truly living. Ultimately, it all starts with the courage to say what most people prefer to hide. It's a simple act, but transformative. And when you hear the first forbidden word, you'll understand why it has such great power and why it completely changes how others perceive you. Because the moment you learn to use this word, something changes not only in the relationship, but in you. And that's exactly what you'll experience in the next section, when I show you the first word and why it's so feared and at the same time so irresistible. Have you ever noticed that there are people who don't even need to say much to create an immediate connection? All it takes is a sentence, a look, a different tone of voice, and presto, something changes in the air. It's as if the heart understands something the mind hasn't even processed yet. And do you know what's behind this? The language the heart understands, the one that doesn't depend on technique or rehearsed speech, but on the energy you put into the words. That's what I want to talk to you about now, because it's the foundation of everything that follows. If you want to awaken love, desire, and true connection, you need to understand that words are not just sounds, are vibrations, and each of them carries a force that can heal or distance, unite or harm, depending on the speaker's intention. People make the mistake of thinking that beautiful speech is enough. They think winning someone over means using catchy phrases, saying what the other person wants to hear, copying a seduction model they saw online. But that's not how it works. Alan Watts said that true communication arises from presence, and that changes everything. Because when you're present, the other person feels it. The energy is different. Your voice conveys sincerity, your gaze conveys calm, and your words take on weight. The other person's heart understands when there's truth, even if their mind is still trying to protect itself. And that's where the magic begins. Love isn't sparked by perfect speeches, but by a real vibe. People sense when you're trying to impress and when you're being authentic. And what truly attracts, what creates desire is authenticity. Because let's face it, we're all tired of hearing the same superficial talk, the same automatic responses, the same empty compliments. What's missing is someone who speaks with soul, who looks you in the eye and says something simple but true. Sometimes a single word spoken with intention is worth more than 1,000 memorized phrases. Think about it. When someone says something from the heart, you feel it's almost physical. It's as if that phrase penetrates your skin and stays there, vibrating. This is the language the heart understands, the language of presence. And this presence doesn't come when you try to appear perfect. It comes when you're whole, when you're truly living in that moment. Watts said that the problem with people is that they're always somewhere else. They're talking, but thinking about what they'll say next. They're listening, but planning their response. And that's why nothing profound happens. Love only arises when there's silence within. When what you say comes from a sincere place without masks. When you speak with presence, something curious happens. The other person disarms. They stop listening to you with their mind and start feeling with their heart. And this is irresistible. It doesn't matter if it's in a romantic relationship, with friends, or with a family member. The truth always creates connection, and that's what separates those who are remembered from those who are forgotten. People forget what you say, but they never forget how you made them feel. And what makes someone feel something is the energy behind your words. It's how you deliver, not what you deliver. Alan Watts said that love isn't an effort. It's a natural state that arises when you stop trying to control the other person, when you relax and simply speak with an open heart. And this also applies to how you use words. Stop thinking about getting it right. Stop thinking about convincing. Just be present. Say what you feel truthfully, and observe what happens. The other person will hear you differently. They will look at you differently, because this energy doesn't need translation. The heart understands it instantly. Now comment below the word true so I know you understand this point. Write this down as a commitment to yourself, to remember that what truly creates connection is not how much you talk, but how genuine you are when you speak. Because it is at that moment that communication stops being noise and becomes a bridge. And the curious thing is that when you start speaking with presence and truth, words that once seemed common gain a power you never realized. They begin to transform people's reactions, the mood of conversations, the way others see you. And that's when everything starts to change, because you'll discover that there's one word in particular, simple and forgotten, that has the power to open any heart and awaken feelings that have been dormant for a long time. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Have you ever noticed that most people are afraid to truly show themselves? It's curious, because everyone wants to be loved, wants to be accepted, wants to have deep relationships, but almost no one has the courage to open up. People live wearing masks, trying to appear strong, balanced, in control. But love isn't born from control. It's born from vulnerability, and that's precisely why so many people feel alone, even when surrounded by people. The world teaches us to disguise feelings, but what truly creates connection is when you have the courage to feel and to show what you feel. That's the point that changes everything. This is where the true power of words that touch the heart begins. Vulnerability is what makes anyone irresistible, and this has nothing to do with weakness. In fact, it's the opposite. It takes courage to open up, to admit what you feel, to say, I need someone. I made a mistake. I miss someone. People who hide behind strength are actually trapped in fear. Fear of appearing fragile, fear of being rejected, fear of getting hurt. But, as Alan Watts said, fear is just resistance to life. When you stop resisting, when you accept feeling, love flows naturally. Because love is movement. It's surrender. It's letting life happen through you and not trying to control it all the time. How many times have you wanted to say something but stayed silent? How many times have you swallowed an emotion to avoid appearing needy or too sensitive? And what has resulted? Distance, coldness, an emptiness that only grows. People think hiding their feelings is a sign of strength, but that's what prevents them from experiencing something true. When you close yourself off, you also prevent others from seeing you. No one can love what you don't show. And that's why vulnerability is so powerful. It builds bridges where there were once walls. The mistake is to think that vulnerability means humbling yourself. It's not. It's simply being honest about what you feel without fear of judgment. It's saying, I feel this right now. This hurts me. This makes me feel good. And when you do this with presence, the other person feels it. They realize you're not playing a role but showing something real. And that's where love is born. That's where desire awakens. Because human beings are naturally drawn to authenticity. Vulnerability awakens the instinct for care, connection, and empathy. Alan Watts said that everything alive is flexible. Only what is dead is rigid. And the same goes for the heart. Those who try to control their feelings too much end up hardening. and nothing flourishes in hard soil. Love needs space to grow, and that space only exists when you allow yourself to be who you are, even if it hurts. When you speak with vulnerability, you don't lose power, you gain it, because no one can resist the truth. And that's exactly what transforms relationships. When you stop trying to be strong all the time and start being real. Now think for a second. How many times have you wished someone had told you the truth instead of sugarcoating it? How many times would you have preferred to hear a sincere "I miss you" instead of an empty "I'm okay"? That's right. Vulnerability is what we most desire in others and most fear in ourselves. But the paradox is that it's precisely vulnerability that awakens true love, because to love is to allow yourself to be seen, it's to take risks. And the more you try to avoid risk, the further you become from what you truly seek. Comment below the word courage to affirm that you are ready to experience real relationships. Write this as a commitment to your own truth, because without courage there is no love, and without love life loses its meaning. And when you begin to understand this, to see that true power lies in allowing yourself to feel, something within you changes. From that point on, even simple words take on new meaning, because when they come from vulnerability, they touch deeply, and that's precisely why the next words you'll learn are called forbidden. They're feared, but they're also the ones that most awaken desire and love when spoken from the heart, and the first of them is the most powerful of all. Now yes, we've reached the point where everything starts to make sense, because this is where you'll understand why these 5 words are called forbidden, and how each of them has the power to break through any emotional barrier, to transform a simple conversation into a moment of real connection. Most people speak without thinking, repeat automatic phrases, react impulsively. But those who learn to use these words consciously, with presence, awaken something that goes far beyond interest. It awakens emotion, and emotion is what moves human beings. It's what creates bonds, what brings people closer, what makes someone remember you even when they're not around. The first word is I feel. It may seem simple, but it's extremely rare. Almost no one actually uses it. People prefer to say I think, I might, because it's safer. But when you say I feel, you surrender. You speak from the heart, not the head. Alan Watts explained that love isn't rational, it's a state of consciousness, and those who constantly try to control what they feel miss the chance to experience love in its purest form. Saying I feel is like opening a window. It lets the other person see what's inside you, and that's what creates desire, emotional transparency, because what connects people isn't perfection, it's humanity. The second word is necessary. It's frightening because it carries vulnerability. We live in a world that idolizes independence, that teaches that showing need is weakness. But the truth is, human beings were born to connect. Saying I need you isn't demeaning yourself. It's recognizing the interdependence that exists between us all. Watts said that the ego creates the illusion of separation, but life is a dance where everything moves together. When you have the courage to admit you need someone, you dismantle your pride and invite the other person into intimacy. This word creates a bond because it reveals trust. The third word is I forgive. And here's one of the hardest to say, because forgiveness requires emotional maturity. It requires you to let go of your reason to choose peace. When you forgive, you let go of the past, and by letting go, you free yourself too. Watts said that suffering is insisting on something that's already over. Forgiveness doesn't change what happened, but it changes how you carry the memory. It clears the space for love to flow again. And this doesn't just apply to the other person, it applies to you too. Sometimes the heart just needs forgiveness to feel again. The fourth word is I understand, and it has an almost magical power because it heals the other person's ego. When you say I understand, the person feels seen, heard, validated, and that's rare. Most people want to win arguments, not understand. But love is born from listening, not from dispute. Watts said that true dialogue is not a war of ideas. It's a dance between consciousnesses. Saying I understand isn't agreeing, it's saying I see you. It's opening space for empathy, and empathy is the ground where love grows. And finally, the fifth word, accepted. This is the most powerful of all, because it's the most liberating. I accept means stopping fighting against reality, against the other, against yourself. It's the moment you understand that loving isn't about changing anyone, it's about embracing who you are. And paradoxically, this is what transforms everything. When you accept the other, they relax. And when they relax, love flows. Alan Watts said that suffering arises from resistance, and acceptance is the opposite of resistance. It's the natural flow of life happening. Through you, these 5 words, I feel, I need, I forgive, I understand, and I accept, form a kind of emotional map. Together, they dismantle the ego and allow love to take action. They're not just expressions, they're states of consciousness, and those who learn to use them sincerely begin to notice a real change in relationships. People begin to listen to you differently, to look at you differently, to feel trust, because these words have energy. They vibrate, they heal. Now, to anchor this, learning, write the word in the comments, Ken, because that's what it's all about. The power of using the right words at the right time with the right intention. When you understand this, you begin to realize that love was never far away. It was just lying dormant, waiting for you to speak truthfully. And the curious thing is that the more you practice this type of conscious communication, the easier it becomes to realize something no one tells you. Love doesn't depend on who's by your side, but on the state you're in inside. And it's precisely about this state, love as consciousness, that we're going to talk about now. Now that you understand the power of these 5 words and what they do to people, it's time to take a step deeper. Because at the end of the day, love and desire aren't feelings that come and go, they're states of consciousness. Most people believe that love happens when you find the right person, but Alan Watts taught that true love begins inside you, the moment the mind stops trying to control and begins to simply be present. And it's precisely this presence that changes everything. The tone of your voice, the look in your eyes, the gestures, the energy. When you speak with presence, words become secondary, because the other person feels your truth before they even understand what you said. The problem is that almost no one lives in the present. People are always caught between what has already happened and what has not yet happened. They speak with their body there but their mind elsewhere. And that's why so much conversation sounds empty, forced, lifeless. You can tell when someone is with you only out of obligation. Their gaze shifts, their tone changes, their response comes automatically. And you can also tell when someone is truly there. This difference is subtle, but it's where love happens. Watts said that presence is what transforms any ordinary moment into something sacred. And that's true. When you learn to be present, even the simple act of saying hi carries a different power. This is what conscious love is, being whole. It's not about saying what the other person wants to hear. It's about saying what's true, with an open heart and without fear of the outcome. Because love isn't a transaction, it's a reflection of who you are inside. And what attracts, what awakens desire, is the energy of those who are alive within. People disconnected from themselves convey distance, even when they try to be kind. Those who live with awareness and authenticity, however, radiate something that no one can explain but everyone feels. Presence is what makes you unforgettable. It's what makes the other person feel at peace when you speak. It's what makes desire not just physical, but emotional and spiritual. It's what makes the other person feel seen, understood, and welcomed, and that's why being present is so much more powerful than being perfect. Watts said that love is the awareness that you and the other person are not separate, but part of the same whole. And when you see this, there's no more room for games, manipulation, or fear. Love stops being a struggle and becomes an experience. You may even have noticed that when you're at peace, the people around you react differently. They treat you with more affection, open up more, and trust more. This happens because your energy changes. Your presence is contagious. It's as if your inner balance reorganizes the environment. This is why conscious love is effortless. It happens naturally because you become a source. And the more you give love, the more love returns. Desire, connection, and reciprocity become consequences, not objectives. Now pay attention. What destroys love most is absence. Being with someone but with your mind elsewhere, listening without hearing, speaking without feeling, and worst of all, trying to love without being fully present. No relationship survives this. Love is a state of attention, not distraction. That's why, when you learn to be present, your life changes in every area. Not just in relationships, but at work, in friendships, in the way you see yourself. Presence heals. And the more present you are, the more love flows, the lighter life becomes, the more everything begins to fall into place. And when you start practicing this, something magical happens. You stop seeking love outside of yourself and begin to become love itself. Words that once needed explaining become felt. People perceive you differently, even without you saying anything. Because the silence of those present speaks louder than any rehearsed speech. And it is precisely in this silence, in this space between one word and the next, that the true power of love is revealed. And it is precisely about this space that we will now talk. Once you understand that love is a state of consciousness, comes the most profound point of all. The silence after the word, it's there, in that moment when everything seems to stop for a second, that the truth reveals itself. People think the power lies in what they say, but the real power lies in what comes next, in the space between the words. It's in that space that the other person feels who you truly are. Alan Watts said that silence is not the absence of sound, but the total presence of everything. And that's exactly it. Silence is where love manifests itself without needing to be explained. When you learn to be silent with someone and still feel connected, it's a sign that something real exists. Because love doesn't require effort, proof, or long speeches. It lives in that simple space between what's said and what's felt. It's the look that speaks, the gesture that communicates, the breath that synchronizes. Silence is the part of the conversation that words can't reach. And that's why so many people never experience true love, because they're afraid of silence. They rush to fill every pause, every moment of calm, as if emptiness were an enemy. But emptiness is where connection happens. People confuse silence with disinterest, but true silence is pure presence. It's the opposite of indifference. It's the calm of someone who is whole, of someone who doesn't need to prove anything, of someone who has already understood that love can't be convinced, it can be felt. Watts said that love is like music. It only exists as long as there's space between the notes. If the sound were continuous, it wouldn't be music anymore. The same goes for words. If everything is speech, there's no emotion. It's the interval that gives meaning. Silence is where the heart listens. And here's the secret that almost no one understands. Silence isn't the end of a conversation. It's the beginning of understanding. It's in this moment that the other person realizes what's truly behind what you've said. It's in this moment that emotions take shape, feelings blossom, and desire ignites. Silence is the fertile ground where forbidden words germinate. It's what transforms I feel into presence, I need into surrender, I forgive into peace, I understand into empathy, and I accept into unconditional love. Without silence, all these words would be just noise. Alan Watts said that love happens when the self and the other cease to be two and become one. And that's exactly what silence does. It dissolves boundaries. In that instant, the ego falls silent and the heart speaks. And when the heart speaks, there's no resistance. That's why, in life's most intense moments, a goodbye, a hug, a reunion, no one needs to say anything. Silence already carries everything. It is the pinnacle of human connection. Now, I want you to write the word in the comments, silence. Write to remember that it is in silence that true power resides. Because when you learn to be at peace with silence, you become irresistible. People feel safe around you. They feel your presence. They feel something they can't explain. And that is love in its purest form. The kind that doesn't need to be convincing. It just exists. Now that you understand the power of words and how each one can awaken love, desire, and true connection, you can feel something shift inside you. Because now you know, love doesn't depend on luck. It's born of awareness and presence. And when you speak truthfully, everything around you begins to respond differently. People, relationships, even the way life listens to you. This video revealed something many people spend years without realizing. And the simple fact that you've made it this far already shows that you're ready to experience something different. So reciprocate this moment. Like and subscribe to the channel so more people can also access this transformation. When you do this, you spread the same energy that just touched you and help others awaken as well. And to show that you're part of this consciousness movement, write the word I am in the comments. Transformation. Because what comes next will take you even deeper into this journey. The next video is a natural continuation of this discovery. In it, I'll show you something few realize. the exact moment the universe tests your heart to see if you're truly ready to experience the love you say you want. And when you understand this, everything changes. So, stay tuned. What comes next is the step that will complete what began within you today.